Greetings, Jedis. This is Captain Rex, and you're watching Star Wars Nut 77, home of the Star Wars memorabilia reviews. Move out!
Hello Star Wars fans, how you doing? My name is John and welcome back to another Star Wars review. As you can see, I've got a lot of items to review. I'm not going to be able to squeeze this into one episode, so this is going to be a multi-part episode series where I'm going to be reviewing the Micro Machines Star Wars line. Between the mid-80s up until about 1995 was kind of a slow time for Star Wars collectors. There really wasn't that much out. There were novels to collect, there's some memorabilia, but Kenner had pretty much stopped making what we now refer to as a vintage line in the mid-80s, and then they started Power of the Force 2 in 1995. But between then, there was a couple items like I mentioned in the novels, and they had these Bend-Em figures by Just Toys. I'm not a huge fan of this line. They're not very detailed, but they were there in the early 90s, definitely to fill in the Star Wars void that we didn't have much. However, in 1994, Galoob decided to do a spin-off of the very popular Micro Machine line of toys and start a Star Wars line of toys based on the Micro Machine set. These are all miniature toys. They're very cool, very detailed, big fan of them. And this was a very short-lived line, only lasted till about late 90s, 1998. I think more specifically because Hasbro eventually purchased Galoob. But these are really cool and I've got a lot to cover. So let's start with some of the vehicle reviews. I'll show you some of the playsets in front of me as well. In the later episodes I'll show you some more of these. I'll show you the Millennium Falcon. I'll show you some exclusive Micro Machine Star Wars items I have as well. We'll go from there. Thanks for watching. I'm going to start off by showing you the different vehicles, the Star Wars vehicles that I own. There's obviously a lot more than this. These are all very detailed. The thing I don't like about them, they're not proportion to scale. For example, the Star Destroyer here is not, the A-Wing is not the same size as the Star Destroyer. Basically, that's obviously the A-Wing is a lot smaller than the Star Destroyer, but nevertheless, they're very detailed. Here is a bomber, type bomber, pretty detailed. TIE fighter. You have a Slave One. It's Boba Fett's ship. A-Wing fighter, Star Destroyer, which I showed you before. I have a couple of Y-Wings. And they have these little holes in these pegs, so you can they had display stands. You can put them on display stands, which is cool. Here's a B-Wing. This one did not have a hole because it's hard to display this. It's very narrow. Devastator. Another Y-Wing, another Slave One. Here's a Sandcrawler. This thing actually has wheels. And actually goes, so it's kind of like wheels like the Micro Machine cars would have. Obviously not proportion to scale either. Cloud Car. Bespin. ATST. Here's that. Here's a Snowspeeder. And you can see that there's a hole in there. Peg. Emperor's Shuttle. Royal Shuttle. Millennium Falcon. I love the detail for this one. AT-AT. You got a skiff as well, which is cool. Now I'm going to show you some of the playsets that they had for the series. First play I'm going to show you is a Hoth playset. These are what the actual figures look like. They're very small. On Tauntaun, and I have a Leia and Hoth. See how small that is. This is cool. This is actually a turret here that kind of fires. Unfortunately, the thing misplaced the missile. And this flap opens up like so. Let's turn around. You can see the back side, how the flap opens up. These are just blasters here. Ion cannons, whatever they are. And if you push this button right here, every playset had something like this where it's kind of a special thing. If you push here, the shields blow up. Or they're supposed to. There you go. So that's pretty cool. Now none of these playsets connected. I know a lot of Micro Machine sets, they actually would connect. I'm not familiar with any of them that would actually connect. I don't think there was any expansions to this that I'm aware of anyway. This is Dagobah, Yoda Swamp. Now, something about these sets that I mentioned before is these came out in 1994. These were the first play sets for the Micro Machine Star Wars line. This is cool. It does a whole bunch of stuff. I'll do a 360 here, turn this around. You can see all sides of it. You got different levers here. I'll explain what those do. This is the monster here, and here's obviously Yoda. These aren't posable, obviously, okay? So I'm missing Luke X-Wing, unfortunately. And this thing actually opens up. You can kind of see Yoda's home, and you can place the figures in there as well, and you can reenact the scene, which is cool. Now this lever right here, this actually lifts up the X-Wing out of the swamp. You push that and it'll lift it up. There's actually a peg there, and this is the X-Wing. I forgot to show you that before. Another thing is there's a lever here on the back. This actually reveals Darth Vader. He's in there. That's when Luke and Darth Vader battle it out. And this final lever here in the back, this is actually spits out R2-D2, so let's check it out. So, pretty cool detail. Here's R2-D2 figure. Right on. Here's another playset. This is Endor. Battle of Endor is what I call it. And you have the satellite thing that British actually moves around. 360, you can kind of position that where you want it. The shield generator. And you have Wicket here, because of the spear. Here's an AT-ST as I showed you before. And here's Leia with speeder bike. And this thing actually does a lot of cool things too. These actually logs here, you can push this button and they're supposed to fall over, or supposed to slam into it. I'm not quite sure how to set it up where it does that necessarily, but there you go. I'm supposed to crash into it. You also you have these logs here, and say this AT-ST standing here. It's hard to get into balance. But anyway, then you can also push down on this button right here and reenact the whole scene from the movie. So let's see it. Check it out. And the logs fall, and this thing, AT-ST, trips. It's a pretty cool set. This is the last set of what I have of this kind of series. There were more released, but this is a Death Star, and this actually opens up, and at the very top, you can that's where you can store your figures, I suppose, and there's a flap that's supposed to go over there. And this opens up, and this is your Hangar Bay. This is supposed to put like a figure, like an X-Wing, for example. So you have an X-Wing, and you just put the peg in like so. You can kind of load your vehicles. And these are some figures I'm going to show you. You got Stormtrooper. Here's Leia from A New Hope. Her hair is kind of lighter brown than it should be. And here's Luke Skywalker with pistol instead of lightsaber. So that concludes my part 1 of Star Wars Micro Machine series, and stay tuned for more Star Wars Micro Machine reviews coming soon. May the Force be with you. Take care.